Hello and welcome. I hope everyone is enjoying the webinars that APA has to offer here at this virtual conference. I have to say for me, it's a little bit different doing APA virtually. I've been attending APA for, gosh, probably 10 to 12 years now, and doing it virtually is definitely a different experience. It's quite difficult to share and collaborate with other colleagues and with others in the field when we are not all together. So I'm hoping that this webinar regarding COVID resources to meet your assessment needs will be helpful to you as you are navigating through our virtual world at this point, as we are all doing our best to stay safe and healthy during COVID. So I do want to take some moment to introduce myself since I'm just a floating voice at this point. My name is Katie Genske. I am the Director of Clinical Product Management at Riverside Insights. So I oversee all of the clinical products at Riverside, and Riverside Insights is basically known for the WJ, the Wilcox-Johnson suite of assessments, as well as the Battelle Developmental Inventory. So I'm going to be talking and sharing with you today some of the resources that Riverside has to offer, and I'm hoping that those of you who are out there navigating the testing and assessment waters, that this will be valuable for you as you're trying to figure out how to continue working during this time. I know a lot of our states are actually increasing in numbers as opposed to decreasing, so this isn't something that's going away anytime soon, and it's significantly impacting our ability to do testing and assessment, and to do it in a way that we feel is valid and reliable. And so, you know, as we've been navigating this entire pandemic as a company, as a publisher, you know, we have lots of communication with our customers. And so we've gotten lots and lots of questions, and really all the resources that we've tried to assemble, put together, or create have been a response to our customers' questions. And I know other publishers are doing exactly the same thing. We're all trying to just provide as much information as we possibly can to help you make better choices for different situations that you might find yourself in, and give you resources to help you when, you know, you need to either engage in testing remotely or face-to-face. So a little bit about what I'm going to go through today, and just so you know, it'll be a high-level discussion. All of these have much larger discussions around them, so I'm just going to let you know kind of where we're at. But the agenda really is just to show you some of the resources we have at Riverside for tele-assessment education. So that's really just educating yourself about tele-assessment, about remote administration of assessments, things to think about while, you know, kind of navigating those new waters. We'll talk through some tips that we've got. We'll talk specifically for, you know, WJ, Batteria, WMLS. Those are all Riverside products. However, if you're not, you know, one of our customers, you don't use the WJ, Batteria, WMLS, that's okay. You're still going to get information from here. So you're not in the wrong spot. Stick around still. I think there's a lot of resources that are pretty general to anyone who's engaging in assessment, regardless of what test you're using. We'll go through some of the webinars that we've created in response to a lot of customer questions. I'll talk just briefly about some partnerships we have with teletherapy companies, just so you know what's out there, what's available if you do need to research it in that way. We've had lots of questions come in from more school psychologists, but when they are looking at psychoeducational assessment, you know, how do they interpret the norms during this time when there's been a significant disruption in education? There's also the considerations for the use of safety measures when you're administering. And then, of course, university resources. So I'm just going to show you where a lot of these resources are. Like I said, I'm not going to go in depth, only because, you know, one resource could be an hour-long topic and conversation. So I really want to point you in a direction to find these, to use them, to help educate yourself in whatever way you feel you need to. And then from there, you know, of course, we're always happy to jump in and answer more questions. And if we need to create more resources, we're happy to do that as well. So when looking at tele-assessment, I think the first thing that's really important is to educate yourself about what it is, and whether or not it's something that you should or shouldn't engage in. And so right when the pandemic really started to hit the United States, Dr. Jordan Wright from New York University, he put a piece out with APA, a really great piece that I found very valuable. Dr. Wright is also the author of Conducting Psychological Assessment, a Guide for Practitioners, and also a Handbook of Psychological Assessment, 6th edition. So you may be already very familiar with him. But I think a great precursor to engaging in any tele-assessment practice is to really read the piece that he and his colleagues wrote about guidance on psychological tele-assessment during COVID-19. That's available at the link that you see there for APA. So you can read that article, and after doing so, we asked Dr. Wright if he would be interested in expanding on that a little bit with a webinar. And he was open to doing that. So APA and Riverside Insights co-hosted a webinar by Dr. Wright, Psychological Tele-Assessment During COVID-19, Ethical and Practical Considerations. This is really a great webinar. Dr. Wright goes into not only the guidance that he had provided, but also expands on it. And there are, questions to be answered at the end as well. If you stick around for the whole recording, there's some great questions on there from practitioners as well. And I think, we learn really best from having conversations with other colleagues in the field, knowing what they're doing, how they're approaching different things that they need to look out for while they're in practice, and kind of just sharing with each other. So this was a really great way to open the door to the conversation, learn about what we should be thinking about when thinking about teleassessment or engaging in it. So I would really point you in that direction. If you haven't yet engaged in teleassessment or you're thinking about it, this is a great starting point to really kind of give you the broad picture of things you really have to consider before moving forward, or while you're engaged in it. So these are all links that are live, and you can go ahead and it'll navigate you to Riverside Insights COVID for resources for the clinical assessments. So on riversideinsights.com, we do have, the COVID statement. You can click and you can go to the clinical resources, and all of these are going to be linked there. So you can just click on it and watch them or read from that site. So another great resource that was created by Dr. Tammy Stevens is the Tips for Remote Assessment. It is using Riverside Insights clinical products. However, as I said before, if you do not use Riverside Insights clinical products, that's okay. You can still get a lot of great information regardless of what assessment you use. So I did put the table of contents up there just so you see how much information is in here. It is quite a long document, over 40 pages. But if you look at the majority of it, it really goes through, the tips for it, the test candidate screening and selection process, really knowing if the person you're thinking about assessing through teleassessment is a good person to be doing that with. Technology considerations, thinking about the environment in which that person is in. Facilitator considerations, I know that's been a very hot topic as well, especially with remote administration or teleassessment in the home, and thinking about whether or not, there are people in that environment that could be influencing the testing situation or the test itself. How to manage those response books. WJ is not the only test that has response books, right? So do so many others. And there's not always an easy way to get some of these to the person who's taking the test itself. So there's some considerations in there, things to think about, tips to provide about how to get that response book safely to someone and trust the data that comes from it. Practice session considerations, post-test session considerations. She's got some really nice checklists that she's provided in there as well to go through and make sure that you have the correct technology and equipment. And then my favorite part of this whole guide is the remote assessment decision tree. So she really outlines each step that you need to be thinking about. And then there's a point. Do I move forward? Do I, reschedule? Do I not engage in testing with this person at this time? There's a really nice kind of outline there for anyone who's thinking about engaging in teleassessment. And then for our WJ customers, we do have remote assessment considerations for each of our tests in the WJ suite, including the COG, the academic, the oral language, ECAD, and Wilcox Munoz. And of course, we've got Bateria in there as well. You can use the same for the COG and the achievement, based on the test of the Bateria that you're using, because it'll be the exact same guidance for those. So this tip document is on our website. So you can find it there under the clinical resources, again, for COVID. It's also, if you are a WJ customer, it's also on your resources tab within the scoring and reporting platform. So Dr. Stevens did also another webinar based on some of the tip information that she wrote about in her document. So again, after this long document came out, kind of the same approach I took with Dr. Wright was, okay, this is great. Some of us learn better through listening and seeing. Can you do a webinar? So she also did a webinar for us as well. And although it does focus on, again, WJ, Bateria, WMLS, there's a lot of great information that you can get to in there about just, should I utilize a remote administration? There's considerations for the whole practice of it, and kind of that guiding decision tree of when you should move forward, when you shouldn't. All of that good information is in there as well. So again, even if you're not a Riverside Insights customer, you can still utilize this information regardless of what a test or assessment you are using or thinking about using via tele assessment. Another webinar that we have posted up on our website is regarding a user experience of remote assessment. So we, like I said from the very beginning, was that we got a lot of customers calling in asking a lot of questions when the shutdown started. So we had Diana and Dave Kenny. They are from AIM Partners in Education, which is a private practice group in Texas. They really kind of started saying, okay, well, the first week we're shut down, but we still have work to do, and we can't let these people down. So what are our options? So we had lots of conversations with Diana and Dave. They actually put together a lot of their own materials, and we, they brought it to Riverside and said, this is what we're doing. Is this okay? What do you think about this? And we learned a lot from Dave and Diana about how they were using our tests to administer them remotely. So we asked them to share their experiences. Like I said, APA, I value APA because I get to share a lot of my experiences or hear and learn about others' experiences in the field. And so that's why I thought that that Diana and Dave were so valuable at this point, is because they were out there doing it. They were learning what was working, what wasn't working, what they should or should not be doing, what was or was not appropriate. They were out there kind of experimenting within their practice, just, playing around to find what's going to work or what wouldn't work, to help kind of guide their practice forward. And I learned as a clinician myself so much from them. And, I think that that's really the valuable education, is sharing among each other and learning from each other about what we're doing. So they have a very open and candid conversation about what they've done. And they've been adapting throughout this whole time. And so I think that this is a great webinar to watch. Again, regardless of what tests you use, it's really the user experience of the process and, deciding on moving forward or not with tele-assessment or remote assessment. So this is a great one. I would highly recommend just clicking on it and kind of hearing the user experience. Like I said, we learn best from each other about what's going on, what are we all doing. So for those of you who are customers of Riverside Insights and have one of our assessments, the WJ, Bateria, ECAD, Wilcox Munoz, we do have a lot of resources on the Riverside Score platform. So if you're not a customer, you can go fill your water bottle or get a cup of coffee real quick. Give me 2 minutes and then come back. It'll be more tailored to you. But for those WJ customers, I want to make sure that you do know to click on the resources tab in your Riverside Score platform. That tips document that Dr. Stevens wrote is up there. So you can scroll through that and really take what you need to from there. We also did provide the digital test books for all WJ, cognitive, all forms of the achievement, A, B, and C, the extended batteries, the oral language battery, the ECAD, and then a battery achievement, cognitive, and the Wilcox Munoz. So we made sure that you had resources in case you really did want to move forward with remote assessment. There are some people that just, absolutely required this for their practice. There's others who just wanted to play around with it in case they ever do need to go this route, and they just wanted to practice and become familiar and kind of train themselves on it. So we made sure that you had the resources that you would need in order to move forward. Now, I do want to say these digital test books in the resources tab on the platform are examinee-facing pages only. Okay, and we did that for a couple of reasons, and I'm going to say number one, of course, is test security. Posting an entire test book in a digital format is risky as a publisher, and we need to maintain test security. But the other thing is that we really had these up here for, sharing on a screen share platform, whatever that may be, if it's Zoom or GoToMeeting or, Google Meet, whatever it is, that you can share your screen and present the stimuli that you need to the examinee. And you can kind of page through that effortlessly. We didn't want to have the examiner facing pages up there where it would accidentally be projected to the examinee, right? If you have to skip around, and it's more clunky if you have to share and stop sharing to get to different pages. So that's really the reason. So you do need to have your physical test books for the examiner facing pages with you while you're testing. The digital test books are only examinee facing. And then we did put all of our manuals up there as well. A lot of people were locked out of offices or buildings, were not able to get access to them, and still had, tests that they had already given, and they needed to do a little bit of interpretation and was looking for guidance in the manual, and they couldn't get their manuals. So we did put all of our manuals up there as well. We always have our audio files up there, obviously. We have tutorial videos, quick reference guides, report and score interpretation guides, the technical manuals up there. I know a lot of people always ask where they can find that. It's on the resources tab. And then for those of you who have the WIP subscription, we also have all of those great checklists. I know really valuable lately have been both the teacher and the parent checklist. So the teacher checklist is good because you could try to get some information from teachers during how a child performed during e-learning. That's a really, important piece of data to have if you're doing a psychoeducational assessment. And then parent checklist, self-checklist, all of those are up there for helping to gain more information when you're not able to maybe meet with someone face-to-face as you would in the office setting or as often as you would have liked. So that's all on the resources tab of the scoring platform. Okay, so we do have partnerships with teletherapy companies. So Presence Learning, we've been working with Presence Learning since probably 2015 or 16, and they have integrated our assessment protocols into their secure online platform. They do have research validated equivalency to the offline assessment. So with all of their tests up there, there was a research study done to show equivalency between the in-person administration and the remote administration on their platform. So it's a little bit, it gives you a little bit more confidence in being able to administer through their platform. So if that's a road you need to take, you can always contact Presence Learning. And then, of course, we do have coming soon, VocoVision and eLuma, who are two other teletherapy companies who will also have the Woodcock-Johnson assessments available through their platforms as well. So there are some companies, teletherapy companies have been around for, years and years. I know Presence Learning is probably over 10 years old. And I understand, doing teletherapy is a lot easier than doing teleassessment. But these companies do have assessments as well to offer. So it might be something you want to look into if it comes to that, and if you need assistance for a platform. Now, a lot of our customers who do school-based assessments, or a lot of our school psychologist customers, have come to us and said, listen, this kid had a significant disruption in education. How do I really interpret these norms? So we did put a document together. This is only a quick little snippet to help give some guidance using grade or age-based norms. So I just want to point to that's also going to be on the Riverside Insights website under the COVID-19 clinical product resources. So that's a document that's up there to help you kind of determine if you have scores at this time, which scores to use, if there's impacts to those scores. And then we had lots of questions too, as people are starting, you know, the companies were starting to open up a little bit. I know a lot are shutting down again, but we did have, you know, okay, I'm going back to in-person assessment, and what is the impact of wearing a face mask? Is that okay? Does it ruin standardization? Does it impact the scores I get? So we do have a statement on the Riverside Insights website for that as well. But I have to say, I'm on so many blogs and different, you know, Facebook pages and stuff with other colleagues. I have to say our colleagues are the most inventive I've seen. I mean, the plexiglass barriers, the face shields, you know, all the different methods that different practitioners have come up with to keep themselves and their clients safe during this time while engaging in assessment is really pretty interesting. I think we need to put a place together for all of us to share those pictures, because it's really neat to share those ideas. So if you do have ideas, and you wouldn't mind sharing them out, I mean, please, you know, contact me at Riverside Insights and let me know if you've got something unique that you've done that you feel is really working, because a lot of people are asking, what are some ideas I can do? And I think we, again, find the best resources within ourselves. So sharing what you're doing, if you feel like it's a great thing that's working out for you, please share with all of us as well. But we do have, you know, a standard statement up there. And then last but not least, if you are a university professor, we know you are kind of stuck in a difficult place to do e-learning for the most part, starting off this fall semester. So we wanted to make sure you had all the resources that you need. We took our university training kit resources and put them into a Google Drive. So anyone can have access to this for free at this point if you are a university professor and you're teaching the WJ. So you would just email our COVID readiness at riversideinsights.com. You would let them know you're interested in the university resources. We do ask that you provide a syllabus with, you know, your identifying information, the university or college you're affiliated with, and then also, you know, that it shows you're teaching one of our assessments, and then we will provide you with the link to all of the WJ cognitive, achievement, and oral language videos where you can show your students, you know, how to administer a test. It goes through why, you know, what each test is testing and why you give it. There's a lot of great training up there for you to share out should you need to teach remotely. So just contact us and we'll get that to you for free. So I hope that this guidance, like I said, it's very high level. I'm just telling you where to go. I'm not actually talking in depth about each of these topics, but I know that there are so many questions out there and we're just looking to try to give you some answers. If you have more questions, please reach out. You know, we're always happy to research or try to find a way to help you when you're navigating these new waters with, you know, teleassessment or testing in person with PPE. There's so many different things to consider, and, you know, we really want to be able to give you whatever you can to make this a little bit easier for you. I know we're all trying to work hard and, you know, get our clients what they need in a timely manner. And it's not an easy job at this point to do assessment. It's always been a face-to-face process. And it requires you to be with that person, spending time with that person for quite a while, interacting with them. So, you know, I really do hope that all of you are getting some answers to some of your questions when you're looking through the resources that I just presented to you. And again, if you have more, please let me know. But that's all I have for you today. Please reach out, like I said, if you have anything else. I hope you all stay safe and healthy while you're out there. We're thinking about, you know, all of our customers as they're engaging in testing and assessment during this time. So stay well, and thanks so much for joining the session today.